Hey, everybody, welcome to Navel Gazing, the Valley Indie podcast. My name is Eugene Driscoll. I'm the reporter, editor, et cetera, of valleyindie.org. It's an online newspaper launched in 2009. I cover Ansonia, Derby, and Seymour. So this is the latest in a series of video interviews I'm doing with candidates running for the Board of Aldermen in the city of Ansonia. And joining me tonight, you know what? I'm going to let him introduce myself because I stupidly didn't ask how to pronounce his last name. I know his first name is Jonathan, but I don't want to take a risk. This is the 6th Ward candidate. Jonathan, how are you?
Vining. I'm good. How are you?
Vining.
Vining.
Okay, I would have said like Vinning or something like that. So I'm glad. I apologize. But so like I said right before we went live, we might be joined any minute. Chris Grizzle is Jonathan's running mate for the 6th Ward in Ansonia, and these are Democrats. I'm starting off with the Democrats, and I've put out the invite to do Republicans as well. But I guess the first thing I'll ask you, I mean, this is, usually there's these voter guides, or the League of Women Voters does voter guides where there'll be some bio information. And my goal with this is essentially just to let people see and hear from the candidates unfiltered in their own words, which I hope is a better way, a more effective way of deciding whether you want to vote for this person or just get a sense of who these people are. So there's no angle here. There's no gotcha. There's nothing like that. It's just a simple conversation between two people who share a concern for the city of Ansonia and a love for the city of Ansonia, even though I don't live there. I did have an office there for many years, and I miss Main Street, actually. So, Jonathan, first explain to me in general, if you can, where the 6th Ward is and what general area does it encompass in the city of Ansonia?
So the 6th Ward is part of the Hilltop. I would say the 6th and 7th are both Hilltop. The 6th, where we vote, is the Pendergrass School, and it's also like over where Emmett O'Brien is as well.
So that general area.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, and then what do you do for a living?
I own a hair salon.
Where is that? Can you name it and all that good stuff?
Yep, my hair salon, it's called J. Edwards Hair. We're located on the Post Road in Orange.
And how long have you been operating that business?
I've been doing hair for almost 16 years, and I've been self-employed now since 2017.
Wow. Okay. And how did you wind up in such a prime location there? I mean, that's Route 1, right? Isn't that the Boston Post Road? That's where everybody wants to be.
Yeah. So when I first started doing hair, I worked in Milford. I started at one salon, I went to the next, and I was working on the Post Road. So when I decided I was going to go and branch off and do my own thing, I kind of wanted to stay in the general vicinity. That's where my clients were comfortable coming. And I was lucky enough to find a great location, and I had a great realtor who helped me, and everything just worked out, and I love it where I am.
And good for you. And then where are you from originally?
I was born and raised in Milford.
In Milford. When did you move to Ansonia? What brought you to the city of Ansonia and the 6th Ward specifically?
So I moved to Ansonia in 2015. My partner, his name is Matthew. He's from upstate New York originally. When we first decided to move in together, he was still working in New York. We lived in Norwalk for a little bit, and then he ended up getting a job in Danbury. So we needed kind of something that was adjacent enough to Danbury, but also close enough where I could still get to work. And Ansonia was a great location for us. We found a beautiful house, and it worked out really well.
That's interesting because that's like the exact story my wife and I have, because she was working in Danbury. I was working in Danbury and she was working in Bridgeport, and Derby was like the same. It was equidistant for us both. And a lot of people, that's how you wind up in the valley. Yeah. And it was something I could afford. It was like the only place a reporter could actually afford an apartment. So I'm appreciative of that.
Super convenient. Like I said, we found a beautiful home, great location. Definitely, it attracted us because it was very affordable and super convenient.
And then in terms of, we always ask, we meaning like journalists and local reporters, any civic engagement or community service or anything like that? It's got to be harder when you're a small business owner, because I know you have to work literally 24 hours a day, but what are some things you're involved in outside of work that might be community oriented?
I can't really think. I mean, honestly, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. I definitely am a little bit of a workaholic. So I spend a lot of my time here.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. And this is your first run for public office in Ansonia?
That's correct.
And have you held a public office anywhere before?
I have not, but I've always been kind of more politically focused. Before I decided to go to hairdressing school, I was gonna go to college. I was gonna be studying political science and history, and I kind of always wanted to have some type of political involvement because I like how the idea of how government works.
And then, so what brought you out to the Ansonia Democrats specifically? How did you get hooked up with the Democrats here in Ansonia?
So when I first moved to Ansonia, I met up with the Naugatuck Valley Young Democrats. So I met a couple people networking through there. Um, State Rep Kara Rochelle, she became a good friend of mine, and just through conversations and meeting other people on the Ansonia Democratic Town Committee, it kind of sparked my interest. And again, like having more conversations, I decided it would be a good idea if I ran.
And then, so what's been the campaign thus far? What have you been doing to try to get the word or get your name out there? I mean, it's got to be tough. I'm assuming this is me making assumptions, which I'm not supposed to do. But you've got the other side is an entrenched incumbent. That always gives the incumbents a natural advantage because everyone knows, oh
Mhm.
yeah, Mayor Cassetti. He's very popular. So and then there's, you know, Ansonia and Derby and Seymour. There's like generations of the same family who've lived here, and then sons and grand, and you know, all that good stuff. So how do you get your name out there as a relative newcomer? I mean, I've lived in the Valley since like I guess 2006, but you know, that's just brand new. How do you get your name out there?
Yeah, so me personally, I've been spending whatever free time I can going out and door knocking and, you know, trying to meet as many people as I can, putting my face out there so people can, again, put a face to a name.
And then let's talk about like what are you telling people in terms of, I mean, beside, hey, I'm running for office, but do you get a chance to say to them, or actually scratch that? What are your issues? Like, why are you running, and what do you hope to accomplish? What are the biggest issues you think in the city of Ansonia?
Well, I definitely think that Ansonia is in like a really interesting position where I think it has a lot of potential that's maybe a little bit untapped. You know, we're on the commuter line. You know, there's a great downtown that's continuing to grow. I think it's just seeing like a beautiful community and seeing what I can do to help it become even better.
And there do you have any particular goal or plan or anything maybe the Democrats are talking about that you say like, yeah, that I signed up for this, that's a good issue, let's go with that?
I think a lot of it is just making sure that we listen to the people who live here, um, as opposed to kind of automatically just saying yes to every single thing that comes out of City Hall. It's just making sure that there is a strong independent voice that listens to the people.
And then, I'm completely ignorant of like the ward level data in Ansonia, so I have no idea. But I think if memory serves, that's a heavily Republican area, right? The Hilltop is traditionally Republican.
I believe so. Like I said, I moved here in 2015, so um, I would say it's safe to assume that I think it leans more Republican. Correct.
And like, what's the reaction you're getting when you knock on doors? Because I'm thinking of Christopher Bowen is a Democrat who ran for the Board of Selectmen up in Seymour, heavy Republican town, and he would
Mhm.
sometimes get gruff, knock on a door, and the answer wasn't always pleasant. As polarized as we've become as a nation the last few years, so you have what's the reaction of people when you knock on doors?
So I have to say at least the people, because not everyone answers the door.
I'm
Um,
hearing that all like, yeah, people are just hiding, huh? Is that?
well, not even that, but I mean, it just depends on when I have the time to go out. If you know who's home, who's not home, making sure we at least leave literature so they know that we were there. But the interactions I've had have been pretty positive. I mean, I haven't really had any negative interactions. Everybody I've talked to has been very pleasant. I mean, some people will ask, like, are you Republican? Are you Democrat? And, you know, I think the important thing to say is, do you vote people or do you vote party? So typically, if someone says they vote by party only, there's really no um, where do you go from there, I guess. But I find most people here are fairly independent minded. They vote on the issues, not just along party lines.
And then as a small business owner, this is probably outside of even your candidacy maybe, but I'm just curious as I'm talking to a small business owner, a hairdresser specifically, what's the last year been like? I mean, or since COVID arrived in March 19th, how did you manage to hang on given the disaster that hit us?
So obviously we were closed, what, half of March, all of April, and all of May of 2020, just I think kind of like almost everybody else. And then as soon as we were ready to reopen again, and we had implemented a couple of different safety systems, like we put like an air filtration system in, we put dividers up between the sinks, we did temperature checks, things like that. We kind of just rolled with the punches, and we were able to adapt really well. And obviously business took a hit because we weren't open, and some people were scared and not ready to come back. But pretty much since like maybe after the holidays last year, it was almost like business as back to normal.
Oh, no
We I
kidding.
feel we feel I mean I feel very fortunate in that we've just been kind of chugging along business as usual.
Do you have, and this is just a random question, but you're getting hit with it because we haven't seen Chris yet, so I apologize. But
Yeah,
one
and he
thing that
didn't answer me
fascinates
either. So
yeah, one thing that fascinates me about Ansonia in terms of COVID is the vaccination rate. For some reason, Mayor Cassetti himself, Mayor Cassetti's administration has promoted vaccination on their Facebook page like crazy, like all the time. And I myself have used the Valley to try to let people know, hey, here are the options. Yet Ansonia, since vaccinations rolled out, has lagged behind the rest of the Valley to some extent. I haven't checked in a week because I don't want to get yelled at by people on Facebook. But do you have any theories as to why Ansonia might be slightly behind the rest of the area in terms of vaccinations for COVID?
I wish I knew the answer. I think unfortunately there is a lot. I mean, I think this is on a national level too. There's a lot of misinformation about vaccines that are out there, and unfortunately, I think some people believe things that maybe aren't necessarily true. Or maybe they're just not having conversations with the right people and getting educated properly to know the benefits of it.
And then, okay, so you said you moved to Ansonia about 2015, I think you said?
Correct. Yep.
What do you like about the city? What's kept you here?
Um, I mean, Ansonia is just great. I mean, it does have a lot to offer. It's in like a very great location. A lot of my friends live in the area. Um, it's been an affordable place to live, which is great too.
And then I don't know if you can hear my dog barking, but that must be my cue to move on. But the last thing I'll ask, is there anything else you want to, I mean, I'm a reporter, but is there anything else you want to bring up or a topic you want to broach that I haven't addressed?
I mean, I hope that no matter what the outcome of the election is, I know at least on our end, we're trying to promote a very positive, constructive discourse between maybe sometimes people who don't necessarily agree on the same things. So it's just kind of like getting our message out there and just having good, constructive, respectful conversations with people.
And then, Jonathan, if somebody watches this and wants to learn more about you or your candidacy, is there anywhere they can go on social media or the web to find out more?
Yeah, we have the Ansonia Democrats Facebook page where we'll post links to things. We're also having October 19th. It's a Tuesday from 5 p.m. to close. We're having like a little fundraiser meet and greet at Copper City on Main Street in Ansonia, so
Good.
people can come out and meet their hopeful potential aldermen and women.
All right, sir. I want to thank you very much for taking the time. You're literally at work in
I
a
am at
back
work.
room, doing this. So I very much appreciate that, and thanks for stepping up and possibly doing some good community service. So thank you.
My pleasure.